Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the CCSN podcast. I'm Chris here with Chase. Chase, how you doing today?
I'm doing incredible. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, we're officially wrapped up the Week 3 season on Monday night. Had a pretty average game between Daniel Jones and Cooper Rush. The Giants' offensive line's pretty shit. That's really my only takeaway from that game. But we're heading into Week 4 tonight. We got the Dolphins versus the Bengals. Very exciting game. Matchup of Tank for Tua versus Joey King. So, what are your expectations for tonight? What are you excited about for tonight? Tell me about it.
I think this is going to be it's actually tomorrow night. We're jumping
Or
forward
tomorrow
a
night,
bit
yes.
but I actually got a little bit excited. I was like, football tonight, but no. This is going to be it's a trap game in my opinion. The Dolphins are favored by 7.5 points. I think the Bengals win this game outright. The Dolphins have not been good against opposing quarterbacks, and the Bengals, who I feel like the stigma right now is they're not that great defensively. They have been absolutely amazing as far as just how they've played defense, and I think it was opposing quarterbacks' expected passer rating is in the bottom 5 of the league. So I think the Bengals defense has a huge bounce back game. This is a short week for the Dolphins. They have to get on a plane, go on a short week. Tyreek Hill has been giving them so much bulletin board material. What I think they're going to do is they're just going to play bracket coverage against Tyreek Hill and make everybody else on that offense beat them. And the Dolphins, they're kind of beat up right now. I think the Bengals are they're poised for a huge shocker game where they're going to win on primetime, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this game. The only thing that I'm a little worried about to really talk about this game is Tua right now, because I don't know if he's going to play. Apparently, according to Mike Daniels, he has an ankle injury along with whatever other injury. It was a back injury or it looked like a head injury. I mean, he literally looked like he died on the field after that. He took that hit. But I'm really excited for this game, and I think it's going to be a defensive game, as you said. I'm really excited for that. And people are saying the Bengals defense hasn't been good so far. Obviously, I haven't been watching, and most of the struggles have actually been coming from the offense, which is kind of a little bit of a shock. I mean, but they found their groove last week against the Jets, and let's see if they can keep it up.
Yeah, I really think that the Bengals, they're just hungry. They need this game way more than the Dolphins do. Dolphins, they're very banged up right now. It's at Cincinnati. I think that Joe Burrow is going to have probably his bounce back game, really, because this is not a very strong Dolphins secondary. It's just not. They've had some big wins where they've come back from behind, but the way the Dolphins have been winning games is passing the ball. They haven't really been doing a great job defensively, not against Lamar, not against Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen threw the ball 63 times. They just had struggles in the red zone, and that was more on Josh Allen than it was a testament to the Dolphins defense. So while I do think that there are some things to like about the Dolphins, and we picked them on this show to win against the Bills last week, I think I'm going to flip on that and go with the Bengals this week because like I said, I feel like this is just a weaker secondary that Joe Burrow and this incredibly talented wide receiver trio in Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. I think they're going to completely expose it. I think that if for betting people, I think you can go ahead and take the overs on Joe Burrow's passing, which is 275 yards. They released it at, which is exactly what he had last week against the Jets. And I think this is a better matchup for him. And all the receiving yards, especially on Tyler Boyd, who is going to have a matchup with, I think it's Nick Needham in the slot. It's not a very talented player in the slot for the Dolphins. So, like I said, Bengals, I think they're going to shock a lot of people on primetime this week.
And the Bengals are wearing their all whiteout jerseys for the first time.
Oh, then it's not even a question. The Bengals are absolutely. You can pretty much chalk this up as 60-0 this game. And like you said, I know you don't want to make any predictions without Tua being in the lineup. I don't know that Tua changes this offense that much. I'm sorry. I know there are some Tua truthers out there right now, especially with how he's played these last few games. But the drop off between Tua and Teddy Bridgewater is not the same thing as like a drop off from Justin Herbert to Chase Daniels. There's a huge difference there. I think that this offense it's going to look fairly similar no matter who's at quarterback.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. I'm excited. What's the over? You have it up over there right now?
I don't have the over here. I think that still has yet to be set, actually.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's something I would not bet for this game, though. I think it's either going to go either way. I think it's going to be offensive game or just purely defense. But I'm really excited for this game. But I'm going to say this. I think the Dolphins keep it up. I think they keep their streak going. And I'm riding high with the Fins right now. I really just like the direction they're going in. The only thing I'd be worried about is it's on the road, and whenever a team's favored by, what did you say, 7 points?
Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, I feel like whenever Vegas puts something out like that, everyone bets on the favorite. Like, this just
And
reminded me
that's
of
what's
that.
happening right now. 90% of the bets are on the Dolphins right now. I think that is
Yeah, so
absolutely crazy. For the Dolphins, I think it was 90% to win outright, but it's still in favor of them covering the spread. I think there's no shot the Dolphins cover 7.5, especially not without their starting quarterback in the lineup. Like I know it doesn't make that much of a difference who it is, but you're still going to be without your starting quarterback. That's an issue no matter who it is. And yeah, I think that 7.5 is a very easy line to take for the Bengals. And honestly, say it again, I think they win outright.
all right, well, we'll see. I'm excited for this game, and it's a hell of a lot better than Jacoby Brissett versus Mitchell Trubisky. I'll put that one out there.
Glad I didn't get to watch that game, I'll be honest.
Moving on, we have a pretty good week this week coming up. It's a lot better than last week, in my opinion. We're starting off hot. We got the Dolphins versus the Bengals. We got the Vikings versus the Saints in London at 9:30 in the morning. So got some morning
That's
football.
something the NFL keeps trying to grow the game global. Jeez, tongue twister. But they keep sending the Jags over every year, and then this year it's Kirk Cousins and Jameis Winston is the people that we're sending to represent the United States. Like, what are we doing? We are not going to get fans in the UK and eventually when we go to Germany and places like that. Nobody is going to enjoy those games. I don't enjoy watching Kirk Cousins versus Jameis Winston. I don't enjoy watching the Jags play, at least not until this season with Doug Peterson. But I just don't understand what they're doing. The NBA does a great job. They send Steph Curry over to Japan multiple times. They sent Kobe Bryant all across the globe. Like, they know how to grow the game. And then you just got Roger Goodell, Kirk Cousins, and Jameis Winston representing the United States.
Well, that's one thing the MLB did really well. They sent the Red Sox versus the Yankees in London, and that was a fantastic game. I remember watching that game; it was packed, and that's what you got to do. And as you said, who the fuck wants? What average football fan in London really wants to watch Kirk Cousins versus Jameis Winston? This was a game that they had the Chiefs versus the Bucks this week. That should have been there. And you know what? It's not even going to be in Florida this week because of the hair game, but. Motherfucker, send them over to London. Let them play there. I bet a lot of other people would rather go see Tom Brady. Imagine how many seats it would sell for, or how much money it would sell for a seat seeing Tom Brady in London. I mean, I don't know. Make it make sense, Roger Goodell, as you just said. We got the Bears versus the Giants, which is a very exciting game. What else do we got? We got Eagles versus Jaguars. We got the Doug Peterson reunion in Philadelphia. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. I've heard him talking about a lot recently. He's like, I hope I don't get booed. I hope I get a warm welcome. If you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan and you boo this guy, what are you doing? This guy brought us a Super Bowl ring. I have nothing against Doug Peterson. I don't know if you do, but
no,
I don't know.
Doug
there's literally a statue of him and Nick Foles outside of the stadium. So, I mean, if you boo that guy, there's something wrong with you. If Andy Reid got a standing ovation on the way back to Philly and he didn't bring us a ring or bring them a ring, what are you doing?
It's going to be like the McNabb thing. You give this guy a standing applause. You cheer for him the second he gets announced, and then during the game, it's all gone. During the game, it's business. Fans are that way. It's going to be the same. Philly's been the same way since the conception of Philadelphia. I can guarantee you there won't be a boo for Doug Peterson. Maybe the drunk guy in row 304. But other than that, everybody else is going to be on their feet cheering for Doug Peterson. And then once the game starts, then the boos will come in. But I don't know how you can really boo an opposing head coach during a game. What situations happen that you can boo an opposing head coach. So I think
there's a challenge play.
Yeah, right. I feel like this is just going to be a fairly calm reunion. But honestly, I don't think that it's impossible for the Jags to win this game. I feel like it's kind of a trap game that's meant for them to win. I'm not going to put them in my locks because I don't feel that strongly about picking the Jaguars. I don't know that I'll ever lock the Jaguars while Shad Khan is still the owner. But I feel like this is kind of like the perfect game for the Jags to win. I love the way they've been playing recently. Their defensive line was out of this world. I love Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. Their secondary, it's starting to come together a bit. Zay Jones on offense. I love Zay Jones. I thought he was kind of just a cool guy, like he's your wide receiver 4, kind of a Zach Pascal type kind of guy. No, he's a legitimate wide receiver. He's a deep threat, and he's a guy that can move the chains too. Like, there's a lot of stuff to like with that. Trevor Lawrence, incredible. He is what he was like build to be. It took him some time, and that's kind of what I expected, honestly, going to the Jags. It's going to take a little bit of time, but he's getting there. I think we're going to see Trevor Lawrence start to turn into like that Andrew Luck type quarterback now. And yeah, I mean, I don't, like I said, I'm not locking this game, but it would not surprise me if the Jaguars have a game plan to just control the clock and not make this an offensive shootout and just win that game with the intermediate plays.
Yeah, I really like what I've seen from the Jaguars so far. I love James Robinson. They're using ETN the right way. Doug Peterson seems to have just come into this team with a plan. He was like, listen, I know this can go right. He has Christian Kirk out there. And as you said, Zay Jones, I love him. And again, one thing we've talked about throughout this whole show, especially with guys like Tua, Trevor Lawrence, it's just the confidence level. I mean, it seems like he's going out there. He knows what he has to do. He knows what he's going to do. And it seems to be working. And, shout out Trevor Lawrence. He was supposed to be this god coming into the NFL. He's supposed to be the next Andrew Luck, as you said. And a lot of people wrote him off after this last year, which, I did not see the reasons why behind. He was literally in the worst situation in all of football. And then they did a complete 180, brought in a guy like Doug Peterson, who's perfect for a young quarterback, especially, we saw that with Carson Wentz in the first season or two. But I'm really excited for the Jaguars' future. And, I can see them winning the division. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I can see it. I really think that division sucks, and I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst division in football pretty easily. And there's not a clear cut favorite right now. I think the Colts are an absolute joke. I don't care about that fluke win over the Chiefs. They should not have won that game. Matt Ryan, not him. I wish, honestly, we said this a couple times, but I wish we started this podcast a little bit earlier, like immediately when that Matt Ryan trade went down, because what were they thinking? They didn't upgrade over Carson Wentz. If they did, they went from the 22nd best quarterback to the 21st. Like, it's just such an embarrassing front office. I don't know that Jim Irsay is even competent anymore. I don't know that he's like, I don't know that this guy even knows how to cook food for himself anymore. He should not be coaching a team, like, or managing a team, I should say. Yeah, I don't like the Colts. I can go on about that all day. And I mean, the Titans, I was kind of high on the Titans because they've just won this division every year. They just kind of do it. And until they show me something else, I'm not going to really say that they're not going to do it. Well, they're showing me something else right now. Derrick Henry, he still looks a step slow. Ryan Tannehill does not look like an NFL quarterback. Their wide receiver room is very, very short. And I don't mean short as in size. I mean, they don't have talent there. Their secondary is gross. They got Caleb Farley starting at cornerback 1. Their linebackers are fairly inconsistent. They've got a couple guys there. And then on the defensive line, it's just Jeffrey Simmons. So, yeah, I don't think you're crazy saying that they could win this division. They've got the most talent on this division. They've had like so many first-round picks so many years in a row. It's kind of like what the Browns did. You can only lose for so long before you amass a ton of talent because like you're just going to be picking high every year. And they hit on a couple picks with Lawrence, which is the big one. Yeah, it's hard to miss on Lawrence. Josh Allen, which is another really good one. That's a sneaky one because Josh Allen was drafted behind Clelin Ferrell. Like there were guys in that area that were busts that the Jags really hit on that pick. And now Trayvon Walker's starting to look the same way. I like some of their secondary. Maybe not this year, but the Jags, they're on the up and up.
I really think Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen are just going to be an insane duo moving forward. And they're both so young still. And you know what? You just brought up the Colin Farrell thing, and that just reminded me. I can't use any John Gruden picks against any other teams. I mean, the dude just is always going for like that wild card pick for no reason, too. I mean, I remember that draft when he selected Colin Farrell. It was literally a joke the second it happened. Everyone was expecting it to be a guy like Josh Allen, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're going with Colin Farrell because he was on a good college defense." Didn't really make sense, but that was just the John Gruden era. Speaking about the Raiders, though, 0-3. I mean, they look atrocious right now. I don't know if you saw Devontae Adams' little quote. He was like, "I'm pissed off right now." Blah blah blah. I mean, no kidding. But if you watch any of this tape with Devontae Adams route running, the amount of times that Derek Carr just completely misses him wide open or just does not throw him the ball, it's a bit concerning right now. I thought the Derek Carr contract was way way overpriced. I thought he got way too much money, and I think the Raiders were kind of trapped in that whole situation. But in that division right now, is it crazy to say that they're out? 0-3 start. Does it get any easier? I mean, they haven't played the Chiefs yet. They have the Chargers one more game. I'm not that high on the Broncos, but their defense is pretty tough. So I don't know. They're gonna have to string something together.
With how that division's looked, I don't think it's fair to say that they're out. There's been no team. We were expecting all of these teams to look like the best team in the NFL. The Chargers have been very, very disappointing. The Chiefs, they just lost that last game. I'm still sold on the Chiefs. I think they're a good team. But the Broncos have looked absolutely horrible. And as the Raiders, they're 0-3, yes, but I don't think they've played absolutely terrible. I think a lot of these losses are on Josh McDaniels, though. They started the season out like everything is going to be funneled through Devontae Adams. He's the first read. Then after that, we're going to look through the rest of the offense. And then they lost week 1. And for whatever reason, they were very reactionary with it. They didn't want to stick with their plan. They didn't want to stick with their identity. And they just decided to start changing the way they played offense. They started to move more towards the rushing attack that Josh McDaniels was coaching in New England with. And they started to go through progressions more often and not look at Devontae Adams as the first read. And, well, yeah, that's good in theory. You don't want to go to just one guy all the time. But this is the guy you're paying $40 million to play wide receiver. Like, this is the guy that, if there's one guy that you want to go to every play, it's Devontae Adams. Like, there's nobody else in the league with that kind of talent. And when you're not winning games, that's what you have to do. So I don't think they're out. I think they just got to get back to how they were playing in the beginning of the year and start to just form some consistency with their offense. But it does not look good starting 0-3. The only saving grace there is the fact that the rest of the division has looked fairly disappointing through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their schedule right now, and their next 2 games are both division games. They have the Broncos, and then they have the Chiefs. I think the Broncos versus the Raiders is going to be a big testament for both teams. You know, the Broncos offense has to go out there and show against a pretty weak secondary that they are good or at least decent, especially for what they're paying Russell Wilson right now. And the Raiders got to go out there and win a damn game. I personally think the Raiders are done. I don't trust their defense, especially after blowing that lead to the Cardinals. They have a act for taking their foot off the gas pedal, and especially in that Cardinals game. I mean, I remember watching it. They looked like they were just having fun on the sideline. Looked like they already won the game at halftime. You can't do that, especially in the NFL. I think if they lose this week at home against Denver, I think it's officially they're out. I'd say right now, like 95% they're out, but one more loss, I think they're done.
Oh, yeah. An 0-4 start to the season is an absolute, you're digging yourself into a grave at that point. But I think they're not in the grave yet. They're just in a hole right now. So there's crazier things have happened than a team pulling off 10 wins in a row and making the playoffs after starting out the season a little bit slow. But I don't know that I see that in the future with the Raiders with how they're playing right now. And I was not somebody that was high on Josh McDaniels coming into this. So I don't know that I can really be that high on him figuring it out. So, yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say that they're out. But like I said, a little bit of a saving grace that the rest of the division looks like shit right now.
Yeah, there's only been 5 other teams that started 0-3 to make the playoffs. And I just don't know if I trust Josh McDaniels to be the 6th head coach to lead them there.
That's fair.
We have the Chiefs versus the Buccaneers, which is always a classic matchup, you know, young GOAT versus the old GOAT. And I don't know, is Mike Evans is back this week. I'm not sure about Julio Jones. He's okay, because he was questionable yesterday when I looked. Chris Godwin, is he back yet? Or he's out one more week?
Chris Godwin has been back every single week. So I don't know. I'm not willing to put any stock into that. Yeah, I don't know about Chris Godwin. He'll probably be a game time decision and not play if I had to guess. But I think that this is a pretty easy Chiefs win if you're asking me.
They're not playing in Tampa Bay, though. I wonder, so that's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I wonder where they were playing that game.
Maybe, I don't know. Miami got a lot of people in Miami left, so I'm not sure. It's going to be pretty interesting. I don't know if they cancel the game, which they definitely won't.
New Orleans playing at home today or this week? Yeah, they are. Although they're in. Yeah, they'll probably play it at the Superdome if I had to guess, because that's kind of where a lot of
they're in London. So
yeah, they're in London.
Definitely fine.
Yeah. That would be my guess. Would be it ends up being played in the Superdome. But
It's going to be pretty interesting, though. I mean, do you think there's going to be a lot of fans from Tampa or Kansas City?
I feel like it'll be probably a pretty neutral stadium. I feel like because it's a good game. Like if you were to say like the Bears and the Giants were to get moved into an alternate stadium, I don't think that stadium would be filled up. But a game with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, no matter where that's getting played, that game's going to draw some crowd. So I think that this game it will be a sellout no matter where it's played. This is a Super Bowl rematch from what is it 2 years ago now? So yeah, it'll be a fairly big game wherever it's played. But like I said, Chiefs, I feel like they're on a bit of a different level than the Bucks right now. I feel like the Chiefs coming off that embarrassing loss of the Colts, they're going to try and bounce back. I think that the Bucks secondary, while they've played very good this year, it's been more a product of the front seven. I think the Bucks secondary is not going to be able to hold up. I think that Travis Kelce is going to have a monster day as well. I think that I like Devin White, but they're not going to really be playing him man on man. It's going to be more White in the box. So I think that Chiefs are going to have a big game. Bucks are going to start out. What are they now? Are they 1-2 already?
I think they're 2-1.
2-1. So they'll go down to 2-2. I feel like so. Not a death sentence for them. I still feel confident in the Bucks making the playoffs, but Chiefs, I feel pretty comfortable saying that they're going to win this game.
Yeah, the Bucks just kind of look old right now. That's the only way I kind of gotta. That's the only thing I really have taken away from them. I mean, obviously Tom Brady's still Tom Brady, but I don't know if you saw that little like 15-yard scramble that he had. He looked like he broke his hip on the way up. So
it looks like the game won't be played at an alternate site.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like they don't plan on playing this at an alternate site. They do have one in mind, but they're not saying what the site is. They're just saying there's a site in the back of their minds. So
they're keeping it secretive.
It's a little strange to me because don't you want to sell tickets?
Yeah. We're only like 3 days away now. It's a little strange. 4 days away, but a little strange. We have the Patriots versus the Packers this week, and we have another Brian Hoyer game.
Just one more thing. I found out where the alternate site is. They're going to make them – it looks like they're going to try and make them travel up to Minneapolis. So they're not going to the Superdome. They're going to go to Minneapolis to play this game. That's strange.
It's probably a nicer stadium to play in, though.
Like, it's also Minnesota. So
I guess.
It's like
but hey, if I was making millions of dollars to play football and I was going on a free plane, I'd travel anywhere. You put me on the plane.
I'll go to the Great Mall of America. That ain't no problem.
Exactly. Buy a few things, have a good time. But as I was saying, we have the Patriots versus the Packers this week. Brian Hoyer is the starting quarterback for the Patriots. When I saw that, I kind of just laughed at myself because I feel like I saw that headline back when I was in like 8th grade because Tom Brady was out. And it's just funny that he's still the backup quarterback there. I think the Packers are going to destroy this New England team at home. 425 game. I feel like this is a classic Aaron Rodgers game. The Patriots defense did look pretty damn good against Lamar Jackson in the first half, but kind of crumbled at the end. That game was pretty sloppy, though, that Patriots versus Ravens team. The amount of turnovers were between everybody. I don't know, but I do think Aaron Rodgers goes out and kills this team.
The line is 12.
I feel like oh, wow.
So where do you feel?
I don't know if I'd bet that, but see, like that's the thing. I would never.
Patriots are just a team that'll make it interesting.
Yeah, like I would never. I could never bet a line like that, especially against Bill Belichick. Like I don't care if he had like me starting at quarterback. I'd still be like, well, we'll run the ball, we'll figure something out. But
and look, Brian Hoyer's been there, as you were saying. He's been there for the better part of a decade at this point. Like he knows the offense. You're not going in and throwing Cooper Rush in there. Well, no, Cooper Rush has been there for a while. I don't even know who's a backup quarterback that's new. I don't even know. I don't keep track of backup quarterbacks, but you're not throwing a new backup quarterback in there. You're throwing a guy that knows the system, a guy that's been with Bill Belichick for pretty much the entirety of his career. So, well, I think the Packers, like you say, they're going to win this game. But a line like that, I don't feel comfortable betting against the Patriots. I just don't.
I think they're going to win. I take back my statement about killing. I think it's going to be like a 10-14 point win, but I think the Packers are going to have control of the whole game. That's what I
Yeah,
should have said.
I
But we have the Bills versus the
Oh,
Ravens
one
this
more
week.
thing about the Pats Packers. Did you see the Mac Jones presser where he was saying day to day just 100 times?
He was so high in that. I mean,
It's got to be the funniest presser I've ever seen in my life. And by the end of it, they were like, "Is there a reason you're saying day to day?" He's like, "Yeah, well, no, I'm just gonna take it day to day." Like, how did he do that with a straight face? Is what I'm wondering. I mean, that is just the Patriot way to a T, man. I
my
love it.
favorite my favorite part of that whole interview was like he just sounded like a high school quarterback who got hurt. I mean, he literally was like they were like talk about the injury, and he was like, everything injury related to you got to talk to Mister or Coach Belichick about that. I'm like, you're literally the guy who got injured. Like you can talk about it. Like it was a little strange. I feel like I've never really like I feel like I've never heard that before. I feel like when a guy's injured and like a reporter asking about it, it's either like I'll be fine, like some BS answer, but report to Coach Belichick. I'll get in trouble if I say
That's the
that. So
Patriot way.
I thought that was just so funny. It really was. It's just like that's Patriot way, But that was just funny to me. Mac Jones is just he's a character, and I love this little gritty after his touchdown.
I know Mac Jones isn't good, but I want to like Mac Jones so much. Like I just want him to be good because like I don't know. Mac Jones.
He's very likable. Like that's just like all it is. And like as I said earlier, like months ago, like I think Mac Jones is a little overrated, but I still love the guy. Like that's just really it. I actually did say though, I remember this. When I was watching the game, I was like, Devontae Parker had a good game. So like 140 yards. He looked good on the deep ball.
That is a product of. Dad is Devontae Parker's biggest supporter of all time. Literally, since I've been watching football, I just all I remember is him saying Devontae Parker. He's literally like Calvin Johnson, literally. And so for whatever reason, to me, Devontae Parker has always been in that tier of X wide receivers. Like, yeah, he's that guy. He's really not, but like guy. I got to see it for one time in my life. For one time in my life, I got to see it actually happen, and it's funny. I got to watch that game with my dad, and he was going crazy because of course he started Devontae Parker in fantasy. This is 5 years later; he's still on the train. So, yeah, it's fun seeing Devontae Parker finally show out.
He's loyal. I mean, you everybody has like those three guys that even though they're not good, like you will ride with them until the end, like no matter what. And like you're not a sports fan if you don't do that. I'm going to talk about one more game this week, and then I think we should give our predictions. Just one more game I'm excited about. I'm really excited about the Bills versus the Ravens. I think we have the two best quarterbacks, or two of four right now. Two of the top four quarterbacks squaring off. We got Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, and right now, if I was the Ravens, I would be like sweating because Lamar Jackson's what's it called? His price tag is just going up week by week by week. And if he has a great game against Buffalo, wins, they're at home, those fans are going to be screaming for a contract extension. I think the Ravens fucked up. I mean, they messed up. They didn't do it right. And what are your predictions for this game? I think it's going to be, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to pull out. I really do. I mean, I know the Bills are playing with a lot right now, but they're going to have Xavier Rhodes starting out one of their as cornerback. They're a little depleted in that secondary right now. It makes me a little nervous. They did show up against Tyreek Hill, so I wouldn't bet on this game.
The Bills have had a very good defense this season, like great defense this season, especially against opposing wide receivers. This is coming off a game where the Ravens' number one wide receiver, Rashad Bateman, fumbled. So I feel like he's going to see a tick down in his usage, even though he's great. Every time after a player fumbles, especially a young player, you always see a tick down in their usage immediately the next game. So I think that they're going to be a little bit more focused on that kind of stuff than they should be. And I don't see the Bills falling to 2-2 this season. I don't see the Bills being 500. So I think that they probably pull this game out, but that's really just based on the fact that I don't see them falling that low. Like it's hard for me to pick this game because I really think the Ravens have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and I think the Bills do as well. I think both of these teams are both really, really contenders, and whatever happens in this game is going to kind of indicate what goes on in the future and how these two teams are ranked because these are very similarly talented teams.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. But talking about Rashad Bateman, I just really wish the Ravens would go out. But they're just like the Packers on this type of level. Like they'll never go out there and just pay for a wide receiver. I mean, I know Lamar Jackson's an elite running quarterback, and he does all these things great. But he has a great arm. I love they went out there. They got him a wide receiver. I know he has Mark Andrews. He has Rashad Bateman. He's been pretty good this year, but I don't know. I
It
mean,
should have been AB. They should have got AB when it was available, but
yeah.
he should never have gone to Tampa, which it worked great in Tampa. He won a Super Bowl. He was fine in Tampa, but Baltimore was the place that AB should have gone. AB, when he was in his prime, he wanted to play with his cousin. He wanted to play with Lamar Jackson, and honestly, I feel like that probably would have done a better job of keeping him out of trouble. Because I feel like the Bucs were a perfect place. You have to be exactly perfect to work under Bruce Arians. You can't have a little bit of a slip up. And a guy who's prone to a small slip up turning into a big thing is Antonio Brown. Whereas with the Ravens, I feel like there's a little bit more leeway, especially in Baltimore. So I feel like that probably would have been perfect, but they showed that they're not willing to do that. And I think they hit pay dirt with Rashad Bateman though. So I feel like that's probably going to be what saves them for right now while he's on his rookie contract. You got your guy. This, in my opinion, I know it's a little bit different. I mean, it's not a one-to-one comparison, but this is almost identical to when Aaron Rodgers got Devontae Adams on his rookie deal, and he wasn't great his first year. Neither was Rashad Bateman, but then he started coming into his own once they got a connection. And for this period, until you have to pay Rashad Bateman, which the Ravens are not going to do, it's going to be a very, very dynamic connection for this period, and you just got to hope you can get a ring out of that.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun to watch. I think if Lamar Jackson keeps this up, he wins MVP. Not wins MVP, the top 5. Let's even just say has a great season, leads them deep into the AFC Championship. Maybe. What is your price tag for this guy right now? What is your price tag if you're Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson,
considering everything,
highest paid ever. No
what's
question
your contract? How much per year? You asking for $50 million a year? You asking for the Patrick Mahomes contract?
I feel like what Lamar is going to ask for is going to be 500. 10 years, $500 million. That, in my opinion, but that's if he's going for long-term security. And I'm sure he is, because that's probably what the entire process of this is. But if he ends up getting an offer that's 7 or 6 years, 350 or something like that, 6 years, 300, 6 years, 400. I don't know that he could turn that down. And look, there are teams that will offer him that. There are teams that are going to be willing to offer Lamar Jackson every single penny on their payroll. A guy who's got, because I genuinely think that Lamar Jackson's got a chance to win MVP this year. So if he does, that'll be a guy who has 2 MVPs at the end of his rookie contract. It doesn't happen. There is no how often does that happen. It does not happen. Lamar Jackson, and especially to the Ravens, is the most important player in football, period. Look at the other top MVP rankings. You've got Jalen Hurts, who is in a perfect situation. Everything around Jalen Hurts to get him to this spot has been constructed to work for him. They brought in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, who are perfect wide receivers for Hurts. They got him a great offensive line and a great tight end and a great running back. All that stuff is what is producing these kind of numbers from Jalen Hurts. Same kind of thing for Josh Allen. They've got a perfect situation around Josh Allen. But then look at Lamar Jackson. That is not a great offensive line. They do not have a great wide receiver room. The running back room kind of sucks. Mark Andrews is the only good offensive weapon that's consistent for him, and yet he's still doing this. He's still putting up these numbers. He's still putting up numbers that nobody else in NFL history has ever put up. I think he's first in passer rating, first in passer rating, first in yards per game, and third in rushing yards. Nobody else in the NFL is doing this. There's not a single player in the NFL. So when you start talking about price tags, there's no real price tag that you can give them. It's just got to be better than anybody else. Nobody else gets this kind of money.
So would you call him the Shohei Ohtani of football? You're talking about different price tag. No one else does it.
Well, the difference between Shohei Ohtani and Lamar Jackson is that Shohei is doing something that it's not even replicable. There's nobody even doing anything similar to Shohei Ohtani. Nobody's pitching and nobody's hitting. There's nobody that's doing both of those things at the same time. With Lamar Jackson, there's guys like Jalen Hurts who they're trying to do what Lamar Jackson does, but they're not doing it at the same level. he's a rushing quarterback and a passing quarterback, but not at the same level that Lamar is. So I don't think it's a crazy comparison to make to say that both of them, because they're probably both at the top of their sport right now. I think Lamar is probably the third best quarterback in my opinion, but he's close up there. And no, he's not Shohei Ohtani, but it's not a crazy comparison to make.
This is why I say that, because think of a running back who's just putting up these numbers alone. In 11 attempts last game, 170 yards, 9.7 per average per run, and a touchdown. His longest was 38. And the week before against Miami, 9 attempts, 120 yards, 13.2 was his average, a touchdown, and 80 yards was his longest rush. And this just to go along with 318-yard passing game, 218-yard passing game, and 7 touchdowns to 1 interception. That's why I say that. Like, I really don't think – I think he's the MVP right now, especially after looking at that. I didn't know – I'm going to be honest. I didn't know he was that good this season. I knew he was having a great season, but that was his last 2 games. 7 touchdowns. No, in total, 9 touchdowns, 1 turnover.
He has the most fantasy points through 3 games out of any quarterback ever. No, I'm sorry, out of any player ever. Like, he is just – there, I can't stress him enough. Nobody does what Lamar Jackson does, and the only issue, like me saying he's not Shohei Ohtani, is more of a testament to how good Shohei Ohtani is, as a comparison to how like I feel about Lamar Jackson. Because Shohei, there's like generational talent there, generational, and we can go on for days and days about that. But Lamar Jackson, he's generational, but in a different way. So yeah. I like the talent comparison, just a little bit strange, but we are a little bit pressed for time. You want to get into the locks?
Yeah, my locks this week. I'm going to go with Packers over the Patriots as my 1. I'm going to go Eagles over Jags as my 2. And let me get the Lions over the Seahawks as my 3.
Yeah, I like that one. So that's fair. Those are your 3 you're giving? I'm starting personally with the Packers over the Patriots. I know I said it could be close, but I feel like the Packers are going to come out with that win. I want to go. I'm going to do the Lions game as well. Going to lock the Lions in that one. And for my 3rd lock, I am going, and this is a bit of a strange one. It's kind of crazy that I'm locking this game, but I'm going Bengals over the Dolphins. I think that I feel so comfortable with that game that, yeah, I'll lock it.
All right. Well, I'm really excited to watch this game tomorrow night. We got a battle of really good jerseys, really good, fun fan bases, fun teams. What else could you ask for a Thursday night game? We used to have the Blake Bortles led Jaguars versus like the Browns every Thursday night game. I felt like when it first started, so it's definitely starting to be better, more fun. I'm really excited for tomorrow. That's really it. You got anything else this week? Predict for this week? All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to us at CCSN. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at CCSN Sports. I'm Chris. He's Chase. And thank you again. See you next week.